and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. As ever, I'm joined by my colleagues in the industry, Ian Story and James Kendall. Lads, how's your week been? Let's go and flip reverse it, and we'll do me first this week. So, my week has been all right, lads. It's
great chat. Right over to you, Ian.
Yeah, forget about you. Forget you two. You two are boring. No, it's a lot quieter at the moment, I'm going to be honest. But having said that, we've got we've potentially got 7 instructions before Christmas.
Wow.
We've got some clients wanting to do it straight away. Obviously, I'm sure that you're the same at the moment in regards to obviously people with the stamp duty changes wanting to try and get their house out there and give it as much time as possible. And I think under normal circumstances, I'd be saying to pretty much everyone at the moment, just hang fire, let's get it in photography, and we'll launch it towards the end of the year, going into the new year. But I do think there's some mileage in launching straight away, because we're still seeing certain properties being very, very busy. And I think I'm probably going to launch a good few of them in the next week or so, which is something I wouldn't normally do at this time of year. So it's a bit of a mix of, I think the market is behaving slightly differently at the moment and it's a bit unpredictable. Mm-hmm. And also the owners are just wanting to get things done, which, I respect and understand, and we're just going to go with it. And then, we've got some other stuff that is going to go into the new year, which is nice. So it's not been massively busy, if I'm honest. It's just been nice having a decent level of valuations, and good valuations, I have to say. The majority coming from our Q3 on the market, not on the market letter, which is allowing me time to plan for next year, but also just, like I say, keep ticking over with the noms and seeing some really good clients. We had a faller last week and we've re-agreed it straight away, so I'm really pleased about that. A couple more really good sales have gone into the pipeline. So I think we'll hopefully be able to get a few more in before the end of the year, which will be nice and set us up nicely for 2025. So on the whole, lads, it's not been bad. And I'm going to be meeting a developer next week who's got 10 new builds to launch. So I actually met him earlier in the year, but he's getting close now with his CGIs and he's almost ready to launch. And I think we're going to be launching the first 4 of those, and those are all going to be at least $1 million each. So that's nice. Another
casual
good one.
Mill.
Yeah, it's a really nice one. A couple of take-ons booked in in fact, 3 take-ons booked in, one Friday, one next Monday, and I think another one Thursday. So on the whole, lads, it's not bad at all. But my feeling almost is, if I could have a diary like I have right now, with quality over quantity all year round, I'd probably take it. I mean,
you will have if you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You will get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest though, Ian, it's been so crazy busy. I mean, as you know, when we've spoken about it on the pod and privately as well, I'm in a phase of restructuring a little bit. I think 2021, I was at kind of the perfect point where I was fully teamed up and slightly different structure to the business. I've lost a couple of team members over the last couple of years, not really replaced them. Obviously, Burton James is flying, and I've had to really start rethinking about our structure. We've done a really good hire in the last 3 months. Tina, who's looking after our lettings now, and she's fantastic, and she's fitting in really well. And the next, and there's 2 hires that I want to make, and I want to get those right. So that's kind of my focus.
What are those 2 out of interest?
Yeah.
Well, I think, in reality, I need to get someone to support me on valuations, without a doubt. I'm sure it's the same with most people. It's my favourite part of the business. I love going out, meeting clients in the houses, and I love the actual day itself, getting the properties out there and all the marketing and stuff like that. That's my favourite part of it. But because obviously we've got the 2 brands, it's just not sustainable. I've had a year where I've not really seen my family. They don't know what I look like.
That's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing for them, no, to be fair. But, less holidays than I would have liked this year. And, probably one of our best years, but I've just been so busy. It's been difficult to make to have this nice downtime that I've been used to. because of the restructure. So I'm keen to avoid that again. So I think I need some support on valuations. And obviously, I'll not sidestep too much. We're going into planning mode next week with the TCA members, and we're already in planning mode. But reviewing numbers and things like that, you quickly get to see a pattern and understand where you can actually make some changes. One of which, I spend a lot of money on photography and videography. So that's something else that could potentially at some point be brought in-house.
It's worthwhile, mate. I'll just jump in and say there, me and Story have both done it. We've both hired an in-house photographer / videographer. And I mean, the cost savings are great, but also equally, when they've got downtime, the content creation that they can do, they can go out and do an area guide. They can go out and film a podcast. They can go out and, refresh photos. It's just so nice having someone there, and you're not kind of restricted as to when somebody can get out.
That's the key, isn't it? Especially in summer, when you've got maybe 7 or 8 instructions or 7 or 8 houses in photography, you get a really beautiful day and you get your clients saying, "Oh, could you come around today and do the externals?" And you're saying, "Well, I can't really because I can't get my photographer out to you." That's one of the massive benefits. But I totally buy into what you say. I mean, we spoke about it earlier in the year, and you two, the implementers. I actually think it was my idea for the behind the scenes documentary. I had a really good idea. Let's do a behind the scenes documentary, and then Story released a Netflix series. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
you two, the implementers. No, but on a serious note, I do take inspiration from that. I think it's been a great hire for you both. I know it, and you've been saying the same things to me. So it's something that I will be doing at some point. And I'm just looking a bit at structure. But like I say, the planning day will help people, and it certainly helps us, doesn't it? You get into your figures and you can see where you're spending. And obviously, we spend a fortune on photography and videography. And there's other areas as well, even on the creative, with brochures and things like that. Our spend on that sort of thing now is getting to the point where, is that a wage? And then
that's what I'm thinking as well, mate, to be honest. That, with the amount that I'm going to talk about what we're doing in a week in a second, but just while we're on this subject, I was chatting to Rich the other day, and I was just saying, I think that's our next hire, like possibly a sales progressor, because I've spoken to Sandra about her role, and possibly because I just feel like next year we're going to be really, really busy, and I just feel like she could add so much value on the other side of the business in terms of the staging, the customer liaison, all this, that, and the other. And she listens to this podcast, so she'll know. I'm not saying anything out of turn here. But they're probably on, that isn't at the forefront, but it is in the back of my mind. And I am thinking to myself, look, we've had a really good year this year. We've probably, I know if everything goes the way it should do, we should add another 250k on top of last year's bankings when it hit our year end. So, which is phenomenal, really.
Hold that thought there, Jake. So when you do your rundown, I really want to come back to that point, and I want to understand how you think where that's come from and why.
Yeah.
So you really come back to that. That's really interesting.
Well, I think that will segue into today's pod title quite nicely when we end up talking about it. So, are you finished on yours week, or should we just dive into ours quickly?
I'd rather carry on if that's all right. I've got so much to share.
Yeah,
my chest. But you can
if
go.
If nobody's asleep by now, you will be shortly. Go on in. You crack on, mate.
Ian, how's your week been?
It's funny, isn't it? Because I've sort of been reporting that it feels a bit quieter, but I haven't got a diary slot now till Christmas. I've no availability now till Christmas. We've in terms of new listings, I've got 4 calls booked with ones that I've been to very recently that I'm confident of getting. They're all sort of nice stuff, 1 million plus. I've got one guy who's got 2. He's got one at 1.5 that he's developed. He's got a really nice character house as well alongside it at probably 1.75. I went through an absolute beauty off the back of our letters yesterday at 1.5. It went extremely well. I'm amazed if I don't get it, and that would be 2% again, 1,000 up front. Just going to loads of these now, and it's consistency paying off. In terms of sales, we've suddenly got a glut of interest on stuff above $1 million as well. We sold one at 1.65 last Sunday. I agreed that. That's been on the market probably 3 months. Got 2 offers of another one that we've just put on at 1.25. Got interest in other stuff at 1.25, 1.5. So there's interest at that level now, which there hasn't been really for several months. So Phil's agreed a couple as well. And we've also had 3 nice listings this week at sort of 650, 700, all gold dust stuff. So I have to say, on the whole, really good. We're going to end the year really well. I think we're going to end it with some really good listings coming up, and also a really good pipeline of agreed sales going into next year to give us momentum. So that's good. I'm just looking forward to the team having a good break. We're going to close on the Friday before Christmas, and then we're not going to open until the 2nd of Jan. So the team will have like a good 10 days off, where we close completely. We give them like 3 or 4 holidays free for that on top of their allowance, and they just have it off completely. So I'm looking forward to that. They're all going to get their bonus as well because we've hit the target. We've hit our base target for the year, so they're all going to get a nice bit of cash before Christmas as well, which I love doing. So it's great. No complaints. No complaints. It's good, lads. It's good. I'm waiting. I'm in one of those honeymoon periods. Everything feels great. I'm sure there'll be a fall around the corner. I had one this week at 1.5 that we agreed a couple of months ago. The guy built it 7 years ago. Turns out this week, guess what? It's not got.
Oh, really?
A building warranty.
You're joking?
No, and the lender. For the buyer, there's only one lender she can go to because of her financial situation. And
how long ago was the warrant? How long has the house been built?
It's about 6 years.
6 years.
7, not close enough to 10. And the lender won't accept.
What we did.
The lender won't accept a retrospective certificate.
When has that come to light? At what point, Ian?
It came to light about a week ago.
But is how far into the process?
2 months.
Is it something that could have been picked up at the start? Do we look at that?
Well, you know what? A few times. Well, it wouldn't have made any difference to this sale because she only had one lender she could go. It wasn't an easy house to sell. She had only got one lender she can go to. They don't accept retrospective certificates.
So it's annoying that the seller didn't mention it because sometimes it's not the first thing that pops into your mind, is it?
Well, I was thinking. Well, I'm going to add that into our client handbook that we're developing at the minute. But you sort of feel like you can't believe you got to tell.
It's so rare though. We've had it before, and
I've had a few.
We got it sorted.
Yeah, well, the ones we've had in the past, they put a retrospective in place and it's been fine, or an architect certificate.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've got 19 years in estate agency and 10 years in business myself. I joined a complete agent because we wanted to improve what we were doing and to increase our fees. And already within the 3 to 4 months we've been in the group, we have pretty much doubled our fees. So our income moving forward is going to be significantly stronger.
But the lenders won't accept it on this one. You just can't believe that when they're building it, the architects or the builders aren't saying to them, make sure you put a warranty in place, can you? Or maybe they did and he said he don't want to,
Yeah. You just don't know, mate. You just don't know, dear.
But on the whole, lads, all good. How about you, James Kendall?
Well, thank you, Ian Story. So this week we've had, we haven't broken any records. We had a good week the previous week on sales. Chloe's agreed a couple of smaller ones this week, sort of the 350-ish mark. Both fairly decent fees. She's on a great little run at the moment because she does kind of that low to mid part of the business. She's on a great run of listings between 300 and 300 and kind of 500 at the moment, and everything because she's at 1.5% plus VAT on what she does. We have a little joke in the office because the last 2-3 listings she's done are at 325, and the fee is 4875 plus VAT, and she used to be in the police. So he said, what was your badge number? 4875 in the police. So a good little bit of banter. But I mean, the thing is, there's not many other agents in Bedford that can command that sort of fee at that level. Because everyone is 0.75, 0.9, and I always hear from people, like, I remember talking to someone at the last mastermind, they were like, well, all the agents in my area are doing less than 1%. Well, so's everyone else.
We've all been there though. I think I would never criticize anybody for saying it because I think we've all been there.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, no, it is. What I'm saying is, we've been there. When I started out in my career as an estate agent, and even when we set up our own businesses and things like that, sometimes there is that mindset, and for me it's exactly that. It's a mindset thing. And the other thing that I think becomes a little bit easier as you go down move further on in this journey is that you start realizing, well, you don't want every listing.
No.
And I think that the 0.75%, even 1% mindset is trying to win every listing.
Yeah.
And you just don't need it if you are choosy or you are bespoke to what you actually do. You know, if you're taking on a certain type of property, of course we'll all do deals for an amazing home. Of course we will. But I think when you're polished and you're doing everything very consistently and you're getting invited out to the right homes, there's less need to be flexible on your fee.
Well, last week, we were talking about conversion rates, and I know we could probably up our conversion rate by 25% if we halved our fee. But why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? And the thing is, there's always, and going back to the 2 podcasts ago, there's transactional and relational clients, and what you end up doing when you end up choosing on price. And I was going to talk about my car actually this week, the experience I've had with my car and how that relates back to estate agency. And so for those of you that are listening to this, literally this week I drove over a pothole in the dark on an industrial estate, and as you do, had to get recovered. Anyway, the tyres for my car are a special order because it's an electric car, and I literally can't get hold of a tyre the next day. My usual guy that uses it that I use can't get a tyre for 2 weeks, so I had to ring round. So I rang the dealer. And the dealer basically tried to charge me another 500 on top of what I'm actually getting the tyres for, because they're going to be fitted by an approved technician. And I just thought, if you relate that back to a estate agency, and you're trying to get your fee and you're trying to justify what you do, when you hear people saying, well, we're open 24 hours a day, 8 days a week, 395 days a year, no one cares. It's about the result. The result for me is getting the tyres on my car. And if you can't articulate what the difference is, if he'd have said to me, I'm not sure what he could have said to me for another 500 quid, because the tyres are tyres on a car. But in reality, if he'd have said, well, look, it might invalidate your warranty, or, something like that, something of real substance.
Yeah.
I kind of related it back. I thought, if you were in the living room with someone, sometimes you go to them, don't you? They are transactional clients where, they think their house is worth 600. It's probably going to sell at 600, and they don't see any value in what you're saying. Yes, we'll get you more money. Yes, we'll do this. Yes, we'll do that. They just want to get their house on the market, pay the cheapest fee, and just sell the house. They're not interested in maximizing the price. They don't buy into service. And I was speaking to somebody the other day, and we're just talking about the upper end of the market, the mid to upper end, where it's less about, and arguably, I think we've had this conversation before, it's easier to get a higher fee higher up the market, because people are less focused on what you charge and they're more interested in what you can do for them.
Yeah.
They want the service. They want to know they can pick up the phone, speak to the guy that, the main person or the main lady in the business, speak to a director, or even if it's not just speaking to a director, knowing that they've got confidence that they're buying a quality product, which is why things like Audi exist, like Maserati, Lotus,
Waitrose,
Range Rover, lol. Anyway, the irony. But overall, good, decent week. Currently negotiating a deal on the place. We've got a 3.5, which would be an amazing result. If we can get that across the line. It's quite a tricky negotiation, as I'm sure you can imagine. But one thing I will say about it is, I was doing that 4 years ago, I'd have probably been shitting myself about negotiating a £3.5 million house. Now, and I'm not going to sit here and say I don't give a shit, because of course I do. But I'm buzzing off it. I'm not shitting it up, because I've got a decent level of behind me. Talking about week, we've got massive completions going through tomorrow. We've got 50 grand in 2 sales completing tomorrow. We've got probably another 50 grand that's going to drop in the next 2 to 3 weeks again as well. So we've got a lot behind us. So I've kind of got that, I think I said about it before, that with or without you energy, that I can do a great job for these clients, but my business isn't hinging on making a £50,000 deal happen on this house. So if it happens, it's great, but also equally, I think that is advantageous to the sellers as well, because I'm not desperately chasing that deal. I haven't got commission breath. I'm feeling confident, composed, and I'm just enjoying the process.
Yeah, it's confident. It's having the confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of delivery as well. The one I went to yesterday, which fingers crossed went really well. you get momentum as well, don't you? You know, when you get a good couple listening on your belt and you sell a couple and you have momentum, you've got confidence, and they fucking love it. When you're in the living room presenting it, you can see it in their eyes. They really enjoy the way you present it to them. They love it. I love ones that go like that. I love it when they go like that. It's just
the thing is as well. Like, we've got so much experience between us as well. Like, you know, I think I said last week we've averaged at least £1 million sale completing every month this year.
Amazing.
And there's not many agents that can say that in my area.
Yeah.
And again, it's just social proof. It gives you confidence. You know, Rich, super confident. I'm super confident. You know, it's just a really nice place to be in. Anyway, shall we go into this week's subject?
Yes. Tell us all about it, JK, because this was one that you wanted to do.
Yeah, so I heard a quote earlier this week, and it really stuck with me. And it's not just in agency, but I guess you can put it across all parts of your life. And it basically, the quote is, "If you're not changing, you're choosing." And I think if you just think about it a second, it makes a lot of sense. You know, if it's agency wise, so you know, if you're not changing what you do in agency, so you're not, you know, for example, here. 6, 7, 8 years ago, or 8 years ago now, and we've really only been sending letters really for the last 2-3 years, but we were just about, you know, breaking into the mid end of the market. We were doing some stuff at the upper end 3-4 years ago, but it was only really that I decided to sort of double down and really get into it. That, you know, with, you know, send letters consistently. You know, spend the money on video, spend the money on Twilight, spend the money on brochures, spend the money on creative. You know, you've got to spread your bets and speculate to accumulate. You know, if I didn't decide to do any of that, then I'm choosing just to operate in that lower to mid end space of the market. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I can sit there and moan that I'm not sold £1 million house or £2 million house, and I'm not getting 2% or 1.5%. You know, and it's like one of the places I went to, I can remember 18 months ago, and I was charging 1.5% personally. And I went out there and I just thought, you know what I'm doing now is worth 2%. I said, if you want me, it's 2% plus VAT. And the guy went, yeah, all right. So, you know, and all of a sudden I was like, what am I doing? Why haven't I done this before? All those extra 0.5% plus VATs that I've not actually accumulated just through not asking the question.
Yes, but also demonstrating your value. So, I mean, this might just sort of segue into it a little bit. They might both be sort of combined. But I said to you during your sort of, when we were talking about your recap, you know, you've done a lot more this year. Did you say 250,000?
Yeah, 250. If everything goes through that should do, and then that's taken into account houses falling through with what we've done for the first 6 months, bearing in mind we had a quiet July, August. Mm-hmm. So our financial year in the business runs from May to May. Yeah. And the figures that I've done, we should comfortably hit at least 250k more than we did last year.
Right. So the market's not like changed massively. We're not in all of a sudden a COVID market or a 2006-7 boom. So what has changed for you, JK? Because that's really important. You've just given that quote. Mm-hmm. And I think we've all been through that over the last however many years. While we've been on this journey. So what was your major thought process? What changed in your business in the last 12 months that's enabled you to get that result? And how can you articulate it so it can help other people?
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's important to mention I'm not on my own. You know, we've got Chloe and Rich, and I've got a team behind me. So it's not just JK. Yes, I'm the leader of the business, but you're only as good as the team behind you. You know, we've got Sandra getting everything through. You know, we've got Matt doing the admin. Like, you know, there's a team, but it's, you know, Rich doing his bit, Chloe doing her bit. Obviously, Jack's now on board. You know, there's a team behind the scenes that do it. But I guess to talk about it in terms of numbers and process and how that's happened, you know, we were previously doing, I think, between 3,000 and 5,000 letters last year. And what I decided to do is go, well, look, I've done the figures based on what we do when we send those sort of letters. Obviously, there's also the power of compound interest, which will also level us up as well. But we just doubled the letters that we sent. And what that's done is, the thing is, basically it's down to the letters that we've sent out in the last 12 months. But also, the letters will only carry you so far. You need to maximize every single opportunity that you get. So classic example of that. House I sold and listed 1.25. The buyers of that house and 2 other viewers. We turned 2 viewers and the buyer, so 3 houses out of another sale. So the one deal that was worth 18 grand to us, or 19 grand, or whatever the fee was at 1.5 there. I also got another house off the back of it at 1.5 at 600k, which again is 9 grand. Another 2 houses off another house came on at 500 as a result of that, and another house came on at 450 as a result of that. So one thing we are really, really good at in JK is converting local houses to sell, and people that view and inquire. We always ask the question. I'm always amazed at, I've been with clients when they booked a view with me, how little detail that agents take over the phone. If they've got a house to, they don't even ask what your position is. When do you want to view it? What's your name? What's your address? All right, see you later. Have you got a mortgage in place? Yes, we have, but they haven't necessarily asked their position. And if you've got a local house to sell, sometimes people are, and we went back to it, Dave, you mentioned it on the pod the other week, and you were talking about, talking to your vendors in the current market about, because you get people that are like, well, if they're not got their houses on the market, I'm not interested in showing them around. But it's building those chains and getting them into the mindset of, we can influence this. And, again, leading back to, if you're not changing, you're choosing, I guess you could put that across any part of this. But just speaking to local houses to sell, getting through the doors, and we've got so many listings. So I guess to answer your question, the start of it is the letters. So getting them out and getting them through the door. So we've gone from, I think, 3.5 originally to 5 to 10,000 nearly now. I think it's 9,800 and something or other, but 10K for want of a better phrase. So 10K. That gets us through the door. The power of the compound interest that's been going out already, and just consistently committing to sending those every quarter has given us leads that we've got, and then we've just maximised off the back of. And there's so many different parts to it. Simon Gates actually did a presentation a while back about like a little flow chart. In terms of, a buyer letter goes out, or like in our case, it could be an update letter goes out. That leads into a listing. A listing leads into 4 viewings. Those 4 viewers have all got houses to sell. One's not got a house to sell. You sell the listing, the social proof, you send the postcards out, and, you advertise that you've sold, because that's the other thing we do is the postcard. So we've got another process that we put in this year with Spectre, and I'm speaking to a couple of the members that have actually messaged me about this, actually. The process that we put in with Matt. So every time he clicks a house live to Rightmove, first thing he does is we use a Spectre AI service and send to the nearest 50 properties that are likely to come to market to say the house is coming to market. And the postcard basically says along the lines of, just to let you know, this has come to market. You may notice a little bit more traffic in the area than you do as usual. We'll obviously ask any viewers to be mindful. But if you'd like to see what this looks like, our Instagram is blah, and the video is available there.
Did you say that's a letter, JK, or a
postcard?
Postcard.
That's a postcard, yeah. And then the next stage is when it goes under offer. So then we send them another postcard. Well, as soon as we mark it on the system, Matt then knows, because it goes on the board. We then send a postcard to let everyone that knew last time that it's now sold STC. And then we send another one when it's exchanged, and just say, then along the lines of, we've tweaked like the basic templates that are out there that say your new neighbours will be moving in soon, welcome into the neighbourhood, they're really happy to be here, etc., etc. So there's a lot of stuff that, it sounds really simple, I guess, in terms of, and it is, I guess, but you've just got to put those processes in place. That all of these things are like sowing seeds in a field. And a few are going to sprout up, but you never know when it's going to happen, but you just need to keep doing it, so you're in front of the right people at the right time. And then when the time comes that somebody, for example, we had a one last night where unfortunately a lady's passed away, and the house has been empty for 6 months. but they've had 2 quarterly market updates go through the door, and the family have picked them up, opened them up, seen them, and then they emailed in last night and said, "Hi, mother's passed away. We've had 2 of your market updates through the door over the last 6 months when the house has been empty. Be really interested in talking to you about selling the house." So, the bottom line is you need to do something, and we go back to it about that lead generation strategy. And if your lead generation strategy is hoping something will come of something you put on social media or referral and recommendation, then it's not scalable. Don't get me wrong, and I've been there, and I say that with a critical mouth. But the bottom line is I've been there. I used to wear it like a badge of honor. 90% of our leads are referral and recommendation. Well, you're stuffed because you're constantly waiting for someone to refer or recommend you. Whereas, again, if you're not changing, you're choosing. So, I was choosing just to, and I always used to say to myself, oh, well, if I can make a comfortable living and I can just be comfortable, I'll be all right. But I was lying to myself. You're not going to fulfill your full potential as a business owner, and really get the business of your dreams and achieve everything you want to achieve in life just by being comfortable. You need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and you need to choose to make a change.
Nice, JK. Love it. We're in a similar situation in respect to, I think we'll probably have added another 200 by the end of the year. And mine is from the same sorts of things, obviously, because we do the same sorts of things. So very, very consistent with quarterly letters, without doubt. And that's where the majority of our instructions and valuations come from. I'm going to recap on all the numbers this year for next week's mastermind, but our numbers from direct mail have just been phenomenal. I think we've been to an additional. This is not all. I mean, probably a lot of them are, but I wouldn't attribute them all to direct mail, obviously. But I think we've been to an additional 170 valuations this year, which is amazing, and they're all mid to high value homes. All at 1.5% to 2% fees quoted.
Some of those are new areas though as well, mate, aren't they?
New areas, yeah, all 1.5% to 2% fee quoted. And of course, you lose some. We've won plenty, but there are so many in that number that will do business with us in the future, I'm sure, because we're in touch with them and we've done the reports and things like that. So mine's come from obviously consistency with that, consistency with socials, consistency, most importantly of all, with what we put out there with our proposition. We just never, ever have any excuses with regards to what we're putting out there. Everything is the same. It's always got the same quality on every single listing.
Yeah, you have to be so strict with that.
Yes.
And time and time again, I see it across the entire industry, in all areas, most agents are not consistent.
Yeah.
No.
And if you're not consistent, you're not getting 2% on every listing, because people see holes in your marketing, and you're going out and presenting to these people, most of whom are intelligent. They're successful in some walk of life, aren't they? They're either professionally employed in a high professional role, or they're entrepreneurial. And if you are consistent across everything you do, you just stand out. The guy I went to yesterday had viewed something with us 3 years ago, has had a nom every quarter since, and got us back in. Because we love what you do. We love what you do. And they viewed one with us that we've got slightly out of area last week. And he said, your marketing just drew me to it. He hadn't viewed anything else in that area other than the one we've got.
Yeah.
And it's because we're consistent across everything that we do. So people really want to get better fees, don't they? And they ask how we do it. Well, that's the answer. Be consistent and send letters.
Yeah.
And if you do it, it comes. And we're at the stage now where they're just coming to us. I had another fucking guy ring yesterday from some fucking tech company promising to get me more valuations. And I said to him, I don't need more valuations, mate. I don't need more valuations. He said, you don't need more valuations? I said, no, I don't need more valuations. If anything, I've probably got too many million quid valuations.
You rang the wrong person.
Yeah, you're ringing the wrong person, mate.
Does your tech reduce my valuation numbers, please?
Yeah.
Really?
He couldn't believe it. But it's true, and it's not difficult, but you do have to be consistent.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it doesn't matter how good you are in the room. They'll always, even if you're incredible in the room, and you go in at 2%, 1.5%, 2%, they're still going to check you out. The majority of people, before you go out, it's rare, isn't it, that some you go and value a home, and the homeowner says, "Oh no, I've not checked your videos. I've not seen your website."
No.
Because to be quite honest, you wouldn't be there in the first place. We've
No,
always said it on this podcast. The letter will get you through the door. Or certainly it will get them to your front door. And when you're an agency like us, in particular, our front door is our websites and our social media. So it will get you there. But if your website looks crap and inconsistent, then they'll more likely to just go, no, I'll take the information that they've given me and I might just go to someone else, but I don't want them marketing my home.
And I quite often find now they know we're more expensive as well. They know.
Yeah.
Most of them know, or if they don't know, they're expecting you to say that you are.
Yeah.
But they've still got you in.
Yeah. What I found interesting as well, can I just say, just on that, is I've seen you just talking about consistency and doing things like presenter-led videos. Now, there's different people that preach different things in the industry, but I personally think for personal branding, it's what we all do. Presenter-led is the way forward. It's not there to sell the house. And there's people that sit there and say, well, your personal brand. Someone said to me the other day, they'd heard somewhere that you shouldn't do. I can't remember who said it to. I was speaking to, I think it was one of our members, and they said that they'd heard that they were told that they shouldn't do presenter-led video because if they ever wanted to exit their business or sell their business, it's too personal to them. I think that's rubbish.
Well,
I think it's just another excuse not to get in front of the camera. Getting in front of the camera, if you look at anything, like even in our industry, so even if you think B2B, if you want data, who's the first person you think of?
Gates.
Well, Gates, yeah. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. If you think you want data in the industry.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Agent training. Give me an example. Who does agent training in the industry?
Brown.
Yeah, Stephen Brown.
Yeah, and why is that? It's the people, isn't it? They're not interested in SJB consultancy, some faceless name.
It's Stephen, yeah.
They want Stephen Brown. Like, he's an all-round ledge.
The thing about presenter-led video saying that's just complete bollocks, because Phil works for Stories and he does presenter-led videos. And when we bring on our next valuer, they'll do presenter-led videos, and that will carry on and on and on until I get to the stage where I might decide to sell the business in 10 years' time, or we might, take a back step, whatever the thing is. But your presenter-led videos are so important because they're important for Phil personally, because when he goes to living room, they feel like they know him.
Yeah.
And you look like an expert. It's social proof as well. Yeah. If you're just doing, anyone can. The other thing as well, and I think you said it before, Dave, is that anyone can film a house and not be in the video, but no one can replicate you.
Yep.
And you and your style, people buy people, and it's a classic example. Just use two industry people that just popped into my head. Data Simon's everywhere. Like, he's always doing video. He's always with someone. He's always present on social media. People don't go, oh, that data's good. The data's the data. They go to the people. Him or Chris Watkin. Like, they're always in people's faces and always on social media. And that's why people go to them, because people buy into people. And it's the same with Stephen. Like, he's, obviously all-round ledge. Obviously, we've got to know him quite well. But even before that, I'm not thinking SJB consultancy. I'm thinking Stephen Brown.
No, 100%. To me, it's probably one of the most important things you can do when you are trying to elevate your brand. Video. I really double down on video in valuations. Sometimes I'll sit and make them watch a video while I'm there, and just and eventually
I'm the same, but I laugh because I just in my head I'm thinking, right now, Mavis, watch this.
Yeah, I always watch it. There's always a joke in there where I go, oh, look, I'm wearing the same clothes. Oh,
we wear the same thing every day.
Must get a new wardrobe. But yeah, it's for me, I double down on that because it's so important, and people just get it as soon as they see it because it's so different. I mean, even now, a lot of people are doing videos. I still think we make our videos stand out. And they're like you say, they can't replicate you. Nobody can replicate you. So it's a very important thing. The home styling. I really double down on that because I've got this saying, lads, I don't know if you've ever heard it. but you're no longer selling your home, you're selling your buyer's next home. So that's a really good tool, and I use that all the time. But going back to the whole point of this, how do we get there? There has to be a mindset shift and a commitment to consistency. Because if you're not prepared to do that, then you're probably not going to move forward in the way that you want to. So there is a way. There is a way, and if you follow the steps, you'll get there. You've just got to. It's the old cliches: commit to consistency, trust the process. But it's just so true. But the other thing, lads, that I have found incredibly useful over the last few years is being part of healthy networks and meeting people who are on the same journey. And I'll give you both a bit of a big up here. But I've had a few shit weeks this last few weeks with some fallers and stuff like that. But I can always pick up the phone, or I can always message. We've obviously got our own private group. You don't get much out of it. You just get abuse. But still, it's nice to be there. It's genuinely nice. Like JK, you picked up the phone to me last week because you're having a bit of a bad one. It's good to have those conversations. But equally, I get inspired by people around me who are doing great things. You two have had a fantastic year, and I often say to myself, if I'm in a situation, I always think, what would Ian do in this? What would JK do?
Before we came on the call, I asked you both that question, didn't I, about that?
Yeah.
Well, that one about price and stuff. It's great just to sound you out on it, because I know I'll get a good,
Yeah.
Also, for our members, though, guys, like in the group last night, people are asking about sales and how they would tackle this and how they would tackle that, and you can't just ask someone, can someone recommend an advert and how to do this? Can someone recommend how to do that? Like the TCA isn't just about direct mail. That's a big part that's going to get you through the door, and we make that part easy. But one of the greatest things about the group is the support.
Yeah.
And if you're a business owner, like we're all three, Ian, it's a slightly different. You've got Alex, but in day to day, we're all running a business on our own. And if we haven't got somebody else to bounce on, even if you have got Alex, you're in your own little bubble. Sometimes it's nice to be able to step out of your current bubble and speak to somebody else that's done the job for 20 years and go, I've got this issue. How would you tackle this?
Yeah, you don't want to take it home. You don't want to take the problems home,
No.
So it's nice to have it out.
And sometimes you know the answer, but you just need to hear it back from somebody else to go, yeah, mate, that's how you do it.
Yeah. One of the members asked last week, didn't they, about a social media strategy they were thinking of employing, and we all sort of jumped on, didn't we, and gave an opinion, and it's valuable. It's valuable.
And the thing is, there isn't always a right answer. I think you nailed it the other day. I think when somebody else asked a question about, I'm going to put this on Facebook, and you asked, what do you want to achieve out of it? And I think sometimes you're not even saying whether something's right or wrong, but you just asking, you almost teasing the answer that somebody needs out of themselves that they know already. And
I think
come to their own.
Just going back to the group, I think one of the most valuable things about the group is that everyone's there non-competing. So most of these Facebook groups, you're going to get answers from people who, well, you feel like you can't be honest, first of all, don't you? Because you might have your competitors in the same group. And you feel like you're not going to get the actual honest answer that you want, because there are going to be industry people in there who are trying to sell things to you, or competitor agents. Whereas in one of these small, tight-knit groups like we run, you can be completely frank and honest about the issues that you're facing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. And I think, it's just to go back to the subject, if you're not changing what you're going to do, you're choosing what you're doing. And I just think all walks of life, me personally, I've wanted to lose weight over the last couple of years, and I've just committed to doing it consistently. It is what it is. Ian's wearing his Oakley shades, and he's got his windows up, and he's on the A565. He's having a good time. The rude sandstorm is playing in the background.
I had one of those days this week. On the podcast last week we were talking about, and I had one this week. Oh, brilliant moment.
Good. That was a great story. Dave, have you got anyone?
Anybody
I really enjoyed that.
Anybody listening to that will not have a clue what just happened, because Ian basically just put his shades on and you went off on one about being probably, I'm surprised you didn't go down the Miami bloody beach route again. But anyway, but no, on a serious note, I think going back to what we were talking about there, I just think having that is great. And I also...
Having what is great?
Having that support, but then also... I like, it's like, imagine you're a footballer, a centre forward, and you finish the season, you get through the summer break, and the club sign a new centre forward. What do you have to do as the existing centre forward? You might double down on your fitness or your regime. You go and practice your shooting, whatever it might be. And I think the point I'm trying to make is you're always on your toes when you're working with like-minded people like yourselves and other people in the group. I always want to keep sharp and keep going. And even when we do these podcasts, I've got my pen and my pad here, and I'll make notes as we go through things. Just always looking for marginal gains to try and improve the business and move us forward. And if you're on your own and you're not getting help, or you're not in a community of agents, I think that it can be a struggle. I mean, I look at someone like, I get a third week in a row, Jess, but I'll give you another shout out. She shared her office picture this week, didn't she? And it just looks amazing. And I think everybody's been talking about, those people that've got high street offices anyway, have been talking about screens, and there's a good conversation going on about that and how it's really helped Jess and elevated the front of her shop. She's starting to get a lot of traction in the new area that she's in and stuff like that. And I think, she might not be as far on, I don't think, maybe, if she'd not got the community with her, helping her along and answering queries that she's got. And I think it's the same with everybody. I think to have competition, but healthy competition. So, when you come to a group like us, for example, you're not in competition with people in your area, but it's good to have healthy competition. Like, if Ian's doing it, I can do it. If JK's doing it, I can do it. Or if there's other people around me doing it, why can't I do it? And I think it's just having that mindset and belief. And then, like I say, just committing to consistency and continuing on that journey and believing in it, because it will work. We've all done it.
What's that phrase? You're the sum of the people you spend the most time with. And if you think about that professionally, like all three, even just us three, we've obviously been good mates for a few years now. And now, ever since we've been doing TCA, and just before, the chats that we'd have between us is all, I think, spurred each of us on to do bigger, better, all round things. And we're always bouncing ideas off each other. Me and Ian will implement something. Dave will have the idea. I only said that because you looked away from the screen.
Jokes aside, I take massive inspiration from that, because we'll have great conversations, and the majority of them are my ideas. But the way you two implement so quickly is inspiring to me, because sometimes I'm just sat there going, how's that happened? What has happened there?
Well, we've taken a lot from you, though, Dave. Like, I think I speak for Ian as well. Like, especially with like the data-led valuation. Yeah. I mean, that's for us. Has been we've been game changing for us. Yeah, me and Ian. I hope I speak for you as well, mate. That we are not data people as out of the box. We are like Duracell bunnies. Wind us up, throw us out there into the field, and we'll crack on. We'll say yes and figure it out later. Yeah, it's probably a good way. That's how I would describe myself. Get an opportunity and I'll say yes, and I'll figure out how to do it later on. But having that like data side, and having that, I suppose, that left brain mind that you've got, Dave. I'm not saying you're totally left brained, but there's a good part of your brain that is left brained.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it is, and I do like stats, but it's also a bit of a burden sometimes. I do prefer the creative side. Like I was just saying to you before I came on, my favourite part of this job is going meeting people in the houses, seeing the house, giving advice, and then doing the actual day itself. I think that's probably most of us. I love it. And then you come back to the day-to-day grind where you've got to do regular seller market reviews, and you've got to do some other boring stuff, really. Admin, all the housekeeping stuff is quite boring, but it's got to be done. And from the data side of it, to me, just seems like an obvious thing. There's so many lessons and information in data, and I think if you just turn a blind eye to it because you don't like it, then you're probably going to be worse off for it.
You are, but that and planning and data was always a big thing for me. And up until, planning, I've got a lot better at in the last 3-4 years. And it's, again, well, the proof's in the pudding, with what we're going to do this year. But the data side of things, again, I've actually taken interest in it now. Like before, I was not interested one bit. But when you look at gross figures of what you're converting, and you look at, letters that you send out, lead response, like it all starts to make sense. And, there's a reason that the biggest businesses in the world run their business on data.
Yeah.
Because the data is facts.
Yeah.
And if you can, it's all about, majority of people, I would say, listen to this podcast, and between us, Ian, you worked at corporate as well, didn't you? Did you do a stint at corporate?
No.
But I did a stint at corporate. Dave,
I wish I had. Quite often in the past 15 years, I've wished that I did to get that initial grounding. Yeah.
The point I'm getting at with corporate, though, is if you worked in corporate estate agency, they run their business by numbers. And sometimes that's their biggest issue in terms of, they're too corporate and they're too data-led. There isn't enough flexibility and there isn't enough room for change. But equally, some of the biggest and greatest businesses are run corporates and run on data. And I think if you can just add a bit of that data-led mentality into your smaller business, whether you've got one branch, 7 or 10, arguably if you've got 7 or 10, you're probably doing that already anyway. But the point is, even if you are a single branch agency, having that is crucial. David, you got something to say?
No, I do agree with everything that you've said, really. I think we've all added to that there. I think just to try and add some value to everybody listening, I think before you go, Ian, I know you've got to go.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've taken giant leaps forward in the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you've probably gone on again this year. I mean, again, you 2021, 2022 should have been the busiest market for most people because it was so busy. But in what is perceived to maybe have been 2 quieter years, 2023, 2024, you've kicked on again, and we're the same. So what would you say has elevated you this year?
Well, it goes back to what we did at the start of the company, which was being selective. I've thought that a lot recently, and I thought it yesterday when I did that really good Val that I talked about before. I was stood in the kitchen in my head thinking, I'm so glad I was selected from the start, because it was painful at the start. We had a really awful first year, hardly sold anything because I turned loads away, and people told me I was doing the wrong thing, and it pissed a load of people off. But I just held firm, and now I'm so pleased that I did that, because it's given us this reputation for selling really nice houses. That's all people think we do. Sell really nice houses. And then you can throw things into like brand stretch. So we do sell 400 grand red rose if the quality, but then on top of that, it's consistency. So everything gets a TWI, everything gets a video, everything gets a brochure, everything gets same level service, socials are on fire. But it's selective, being consistent, and then doing everything on every property all the time.
JK, what about you?
And I'm going now, lads. So I will see you soon, mate.
Catch up soon.
Yeah, I think as Ian said, you've got to be. Look, we're obviously in the process of splitting our brand and having the JK brand and then a higher JK brand. But the consistency is key. You've got to keep sending the letters out, and it's consistency in what you do. Twilights. Are you doing a brochure? For your high end or mid to high end homes. Having that consistent approach to everything is going to pay you dividends. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to echo those, and it sounds boring, but we probably all come up with the same answer, but there's no silver bullet. I think that's the answer. It has to be a consistent approach to everything you do. For me, the lead gen strategy has been the biggest game changer for me. So just committing to it. And, obviously we've gone into a couple of new areas and been really successful this year. And that's all come off the back of being very, very consistent with our direct mail. There are no excuses. It goes out every single quarter and it goes out in volume. So we do 7,500, and that has been transformational for us. So if ever, like I said, I wouldn't recommend that somebody just goes, that sounds great, Dave, I'm going to start sending 7,500 letters every quarter. I mean, that ultimately is the answer. But the caveat to it is you have to look right and you have to have these honest conversations with yourself. And like I said, we've discussed this to death on previous podcasts, but I think a few years ago, I don't think I was in that position. So that's what I did. And we changed the way we look. We added the additional brand, and it's just gone from strength to strength. But I think that having that honest conversation with yourself, do you look right? Are you honestly being consistent with everything you do? And do you have a lead gen strategy? So those would be my things. But I'm not surprised that we've all kind of answered the exact same thing. I think Ian's right as well with being selective about what you take on. It's often tempting, particularly starting, to take the, as you call it, JK, the flat above the chippy if you need to get it sold and you need to get some cash flow in. But it could be more damaging longer term. So I think being selective is important. But on the whole, consistency. And I'm really excited for what 2025 brings. I mean, it's not over yet. We've, like I said to you right at the start, we've got a few houses to get on the market. I'll no doubt be going to quite a few more valuations before the end of the year. We've got the Q4 not on the market letter to write, which should be ready week beginning the 9th of December, and that'll be going out between Christmas and New Year. So there's plenty to do yet before the end of the year, but it's a great time of year to be taking stock and really planning and dialing down for and tuning in for what you want to do next year. And I think now is the time to start having those conversations with yourself. I mean, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, do you know what I do? I really want a piece of the mid to high end market in my area. Now is the time to start making plans, because honestly, from experience, you can't just do it overnight. A lot of people out there have got decent brands and they just need to tweak things, but more often than not, there's quite a lot of change that needs to go into it and a mindset shift. So if you're thinking about it now, or if you've been listening to this pod and been thinking about it for 3 to 6 months, something like that, I might, this all sounds good. I might give it a go sometime. There's no time like the present, because, you can't just all of a sudden flick the switch overnight and start selling mid to high end homes. And what I would be saying to people is, where do you want to be this time next year? Because it flies by. If you sat here in a year's time and you're in exactly the same position as you are now, are you going to be happy with that? And if you are happy with that, great. But you probably wouldn't have been listening to this podcast.
So if you're not changing, you're choosing.
Exactly.
Like say that aloud in your head, because if you don't want to make a change and you don't want to add presenter-led video, you don't want to add twilights, you don't want to add all the bits, the elements of the marketing you need at getting yourself through the door with the letters. If you're not prepared to do that, fine. But just remember, you're not changing what you're doing, you're choosing what you're doing. So if you're happy where you are, great. But there is something better out there. There could be another 100 to 300K available for you to add, and you need to decide to yourself what that would look like to you in your business and how that would change your life.
100%. What a great way to finish, JK. Aside from, we'll do it one last plug. Next week is our mastermind day. Obviously, we can't take anybody else on for that because it's full, but it's all about planning for 2025. As I've said, there's still a good few weeks to the end of the year. So if you are listening to this and you are interested in having a chat with myself, James Kendall, or Ian Story about what it's all about, please do feel free to get in touch. Drop us a text message, drop us an email. I believe that they're on the notes, aren't they, on this pod? So just get in touch. Like I say, you can really elevate your business moving forward if you trust the process and do what is required. It's as simple as that. So if you feel like it's for you, give us a shout. We'll see if your postcodes are available, and you're welcome to have a chat. Anything to add, JK, before we go?
That's it, mate. No, all good for another week. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, perfect.